All right, peace and love, everyone. Peace and love to everyone. Come on in, come on in. Today is day 2 of the Refine Your Status Revocable Living Trust Challenge. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the purpose of a revocable living trust. I'm going to give you all a couple of minutes to pile in because there are some people that are trying to get into this broadcast, and I need to go ahead and let them in. So I'm going to do that for about 5 minutes here, but I wanted to get the broadcast started so that you all wouldn't think that I forgot about you all. All right. So, you know, the usual thing, come in, put a 1 in the chat if you can see me, hear me clearly. All right. I promise you this time that I'm going to have my second device over off to the side so that I can see what you all are commenting. All right. I will most certainly do that. Okay, perfect. All right, good deal. Let me go ahead and let these people in. Now, here's the thing I want you all to know. Okay, today was the Sabbath for me. And I knew that today was the Sabbath for me. I celebrate the Sabbath off of the new moon. So the Sabbath for me does not fall on Saturday, nor does it fall from Friday to Saturday, right? So there was no work for me today, among other things. So that's partially the reason why I'm a few minutes tardy. I just came off of a wonderful Sabbath lesson. We were on for about 5 hours, and it was so good, so good. So that is partially the reason why the individuals that made a request to join today have not been let in, because I didn't do no work today. My admin also did not do any work today. Anyone that was working for me did not do any work today. If you went to the website was down all day. Usually what I do is pull the website down on Sabbath. So you're not going to receive any messages. You won't be able to chat. And it reflects on it. If you were to go to the website right now, it's going to tell you that it's down for Sabbath. And I usually don't switch it back over until the following morning, even though we celebrate Sabbath from dawn to dusk, which is just before sunrise and then up until sundown, right? So give me a minute or so. I'm going to go ahead and let people into this group because I've been getting so many messages and so much support for the 5-day challenge. But that doesn't mean that you're off the hook. In the meantime, in between time, over the next 5 minutes or so, I want you all to go ahead and put what your biggest takeaway from yesterday's lesson was. What was your biggest takeaway? Did you go back to the guide? Did you go back to the guide and answer the question for day 1? All right. Did you go back and review your notes? Are you confident in understanding the lesson from yesterday? What was your biggest takeaway? I want you all to put your biggest takeaway in the chat for me. All right, what was your biggest takeaway? Because this is an interactive challenge, right? It's interactive. I'm not just gonna sit here and teach. I want you all to let me know if you're grasping the concept. And so it's gonna be a build-up to day 5. So each day, you all are going to be required to come in and let me know what your biggest takeaway was. Are you understanding the material? How did you engage with the conversation for the previous day? How did you feel as a result of receiving the information that I brought out yesterday? Was this new information? Did you already know about this information? You all are going to have to let me know because that's going to help me help individuals in the challenge to make sure that you all are getting a good understanding of what's going on, right? So you got to let me know. You got to let me know. All right, so just give me a second. I'm going to let these people in, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. I think I got about 15 people that I have to let into the group who's waiting to get in. So I'm going to do that really quickly while you all let me know what your biggest takeaway was from yesterday's lesson. Please let me know. You all know that I like to hear feedback Feedback is what keeps me going, and it is one of the things that keeps me fueled if I know that people are learning from what I'm teaching. I need to know that you all are learning something. So please, and then as soon as I do this, I'm going to go back and read your comments, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So please go ahead and give me your biggest takeaway from yesterday's lesson, okay? Biggest takeaway. And I am almost done here letting these people. Thank you all for taking the time out to answer the questions as you come in into the group, because I need to get a sense of what some of the most pressing issue is that people are having, you know, and why it is that you follow me. Why are you here? Are you just here for entertainment, or are you really here to try to learn something to help your situation? Are you looking to contribute to an understanding that you already have? Are you looking for clarity? You know, what exactly are you looking for? Why do you follow me? Why do you engage with me? Those are some of the things that's very important for me to know so that I can know where you're coming from. It's important for me to know who's who. All right. Okay, so that was about 15 people. Everyone should be in. Now, let me apologize in advance that if you all were trying to get in, especially if you requested last minute yesterday, which a lot of people did, while I am doing the lesson, if I don't get you in prior to the lesson, then you won't get in until the following day, more than likely. Usually when people come in to join my private Facebook group, be it this one or the Ready Nation, there's usually a 3 to 5 day waiting period. Not a waiting period, but my admin works the incoming membership request, right? So she may or may not get to it that day because she's only working part-time, right? So I ask that you all just be patient with with entry into the groups, and just know that once you submit your request, you're good. We'll go ahead and get you in there. It may not just happen within minutes of your request or even the same day sometimes. It really just depends on the workflow for that day. While we have a sense of urgency about getting you in there, it doesn't always work out that way. So just know that, you know, we're not ignoring you. We want you to get in. It just doesn't always work that way, okay? So just keep that in mind. Hold on, just down today. All right, take this mouse. All right, good deal. I did go back and I saw a lot of people who were stating that they didn't receive a confirmation of the link in order to join the challenge. That wasn't intentional. If you went to the website and you submitted your name, your email address, and it said that I'll get back to you, that means that your submission was complete. It should have taken you to a page acknowledging your request for the most part, you know, but there was nothing else that was going to happen after you submitted that, your information on that link. There's nothing else that was due to happen. So just so that you all know. I hope that everyone who's come in between yesterday and today has had a chance to download the guide. Definitely want to download the guide, because the guide is giving you some technology that you may want to study in terms of your processes, okay? All right, so let me see what you all got in here. Some of your biggest takeaways. Let me take, woo, y'all got some stuff in here. I love it, I love it. I know that's right. Okay, someone says, this is so interesting. What religion are you again? I don't identify with any denomination at all. I don't identify with any denomination. I connect with the word of the Bible, the scripture. And the scripture speaks for itself. It validates itself, and it doesn't align me with any religion. However, the scripture does help me to identify who I am in the Bible, and that helps me to have a deeper spiritual connection with my Father. But I don't align with any religion out there, any religion out there. right? Because religion is, it can be described as many different things. It really can. But I don't subscribe to any religious organization out there at all. All right, so I just want to make it clear. All right, so someone says, Angelique says, my biggest takeaway here, there seems like an enormous amount of things to rebut. Yes, there is a ton of things to rebut. One of the things that we want to remember is that the system was not designed to benefit us. The system, for the most part, there's so many different things that the system has been designed to do. Part of the reason why you will hear me talking about scripture when I teach a lesson is because the system is designed to take us far away from the word of the Most High. That's just how it is. If you know scripture, you'll be able to identify what that looks like, even in commerce and capitalism and all of these world systems that were set up, all the way down to the way that we do business, all the way down to how we identify ourselves with transactions, right? It's all intertwined, it's all intermingled. The way that I look at it, one thing, we can't have one thing without the other. All right, now understand that the enemy knows scripture. They know who the nations of the world are. They know who we are. All right, the problem is that we don't know our enemy. And so the enemy operates based off of scriptural principles. They operate that way, but we don't operate that way. And that's part of the reason why we are losing the battle, is because we don't take it all the way back to scriptural foundations and we don't insert that into our paperwork. That's just the way it is. There's a lot of things to rebut, and I think it's important to understand our history, because if you go back and you look at history, you'll know there's a whole lot of things to rebut in terms of legal presumptions. Smith says, you are the source of all values created by my signature. Yes, you are the source. That was the biggest takeaway. Gemini says, my biggest takeaway that everything is still under their jurisdiction and that there is still hope, but I truly have to learn how to properly assert myself. Yes. One of the key things in doing any sort of business is to identify what jurisdiction you're coming from, right? Do you identify with the jurisdiction of world systems, or do you identify with the jurisdiction that is set apart from world systems, right? That's one of the things. And so when people sit up here and say, well, I'm not a US citizen, or I'm an American national or a state national, you have to determine what side of the spectrum you fall on. What jurisdiction are you asserting yourself as coming from? Because somebody will look you dead in your face and be like, I'm not a US citizen, I'm a sovereign. Okay, well, what does that mean? That's not going to mean anything to the officer pulling you over. That's not going to mean anything to the bank when you send in your paperwork, try to control your bank account. It's not going to mean anything to them, because your paperwork says the exact opposite of what's coming out of your mouth, because you're using the world systems principles in your paperwork. All right. Angelique says, absolutely amazing info. Thank you. Yes. And all praises to the Most High. That's who we should be thanking. We have to view the world around us. This is what Angela says. We have to view the world around us with brand new eyes. Yes, we must know ourselves and understand that we are the source of all values created by our signature. Yes, yes, yes. Mary says, my biggest takeaway is that I have to do more research on the Unum Sanctum. Woo, child, what I tell you. Listen, that Unum Sanctum is a beast. When you dig into that, you will see. Listen, y'all, we got to get back to reading. We have to read. The system is set up to take us away from spending time on the things that matter. All right. The 40-hour work week, all this stuff, being inundated with TV, social media, all of these things that take us away from actually studying what's important. This is why we don't know who we are. We're identifying with what's going on out there instead of taking it back to the word of the Father. So that is huge. But the Unum Sanctum, even some of the other ones, even some of the other paper bulls that were put out, y'all need to go read that stuff, because when I tell y'all it's deep, it's deep. It's so deep. Jew says jewels. I like that. Takeaway, eminent domain info clarified that it was more than just land. Yes, clarity was awesome in understanding tangible and intangible falls under this info. Let me tell you something. Oh man, I was just reading a scripture earlier today. Let me see if I can remember which one it was. Because when I tell you this thing right here was like a, woo, when I tell y'all, and see, this is the part that we missing. This is the part right here. Oh man, it was, what was it in Leviticus? Oh my goodness, where was it at? Where was it at? It wasn't Exodus. I think I want to say it was in Leviticus. I got to find this thing. I got to find this because when I tell y'all what you just said right there, what you just said right there is what it is right now. Hold on, let me find it, y'all. Let me find it. Let me find it. I gotta find this. I have got to find this. It was in Leviticus. It was in Leviticus. It was in Leviticus. It was Leviticus 25. It was in Leviticus 25. Right here. Boom. I'm about to pull this up. Y'all gotta see this. You gotta see this. And so this is part of the reason why I wanted to do the 5-day challenge and speak about trusts, because oh man, I gotta show y'all this. Hold on, let me share my screen real quick, because this is something, when I tell y'all it's deep, it's just so deep. Okay, let me know if y'all can see this. You should see redemption of property. You should see redemption of property. Redemption of property. All right, and it's the King James version, right? It's the King James version. But this version right here is the version that has the concordance built into it, right? So it's giving you definitions of the words. Okay, so it's right here, redemption of property. Leviticus 25:23. Y'all might want to write this down, because what you said right there, you said take away eminent domain info clarified that it was more than just land. More than just land. Check this out. All right, so verse 23 says, the land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me. Okay, so let's look at the definition of land. It says, from an unused root, probably meaning to be firm, the earth, at large or partitively the land, common, country, earth, field, ground. But look at this one right here. It says nations. It says nations. Look down at the bottom. It says nations. And then it also says way plus wilderness. And then it says the world. It says the world. So this is the root. These are all root meanings, biblical meanings of the word land. Listen, y'all know that I'm big on definitions, and I teach a lot on the public side in terms of consumer law, right? But sometimes we need to go and look at the biblical meaning of words. The biblical meaning of words. So you mean to tell me, if I look at the word land and the root meaning of the word land is nations or world, then what does that mean in terms of eminent domain? Exactly what I was explaining on yesterday's lesson. When I think of eminent domain, partially because of this definition in the word, in addition to everything that we see that's out here happening in commerce, I think of land as being tangible and intangible assets that can be taken. Okay, your intellectual properties are being taken. Your resources are being taken. The land is being taken. Values are being stolen. Your possessions are being taken. Your birthright has been taken. Come on, your birthright is taken. Doesn't it say nations, and the world, doesn't that mean you and me? Because we are part of a nation and we are in the world. Does that not mean you and me? Okay, so when you think about how everything you create by way of your signature, those values are being transferred away from you, are being directed away from your estate by way of eminent domain. Are y'all hearing me? Are you hearing me? When I tell y'all, it gets so deep. It gets so deep. All right. Leviticus 25 talks about the 7-year redemption. Okay, this is where commerce gets its principles from. Think about it. Think about it. What happens after 7 years on your credit report? Don't the stuff fall off after 7 years? Let me go. Now I'm gonna read this section right here on redemption of property. All right. And in all the land of your possessions, ye shall grant a redemption for the land. What's the definition of redemption? To redeem. To redeem. Okay, so if your intellectual properties are being stolen, your possessions, your land, your values, the Most High has built into the word the properties of redemption. Meaning, shouldn't you be receiving something back for all of the derivatives and the values that have been directed away from your estate? This is what the word is saying. If thy brother be waxen poor and hath sold away some of his possession, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. All right. Our ancestors gave up their birthright. They didn't know why they were giving up their birthright. They didn't necessarily know that that's what they were doing. I mean, okay, Esau knew. He knew that he sold his birthright for some food. He knew that, right? Because he was like, well, what good does a birthright do me? Because I'm hungry right now. I'm dying. Give me some food. I'll give you whatever you want. Just give me some food. Adam didn't necessarily know what was going to happen as a result of partaking of the fruit. He didn't know. He didn't know what was going to happen. But it says, if thy brother, what's the definition of brother? All right, brother, in the sense of literal relationship and metaphorical affinity or resemblance, another brother, kindred. That's your peoples. Ain't your kin your people? So basically, the way that I interpret this is what this is saying is that if my ancestors gave away the birthright and I come to redeem it, should I not be redeemed? Because they knew not what they did. They didn't know. Listen, I'm telling y'all, when I tell y'all, it's so, so, so deep. But when you go further down in this passage, it speaks about the 7-year redemption. Where is it at? Let me see if I can find it. Did I pass it? 7 years. Then let him count the years of the sale thereof and restore the overplus unto man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession. But if he be not able to restore him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that hath bought it until the year of the Jubilee. And in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it. He may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold, within a full year, and redeem it. And if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it. Where is it at? I think I skipped it. Trying to see if it was in the previous verse. Hold on. Year of the Jubilee. I was just literally reading this earlier. Let me look it up again. Hold on. Because I was just looking at this earlier. And it was in Leviticus. Where is it at? Literally was just reading this earlier. 7 years. I think it's Leviticus 23. Hold on, y'all. I need to find this because I was just reading this earlier today. I think it was right in here. 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee times 7 years. I think it was right in here. 7 times, 7 times. Y'all see the significance of the number 7. We have in Leviticus 25:8. Yeah, because it was talking about the year of Jubilee. All right, here it is, right here. In the year of this Jubilee, ye shall return every man unto his possession. And if thou sell out unto thy neighbor or buyest out thy neighbor's hand, ye shall not oppress one another. According to the number of years after the Jubilee, thou shalt buy thy neighbor according to the number of years of fruits he shall sell unto thee. That's what I was reading. Something else I'm missing. It is something else that I'm missing. I'm about to find it though. I was literally just reading this earlier. Oh, that's what it was. It was in Deuteronomy. It was in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 15. Okay, I knew I wasn't going to see. Here it is right here, the sabbatical year. All right, at the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth out unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. That's it right there. That's where commerce gets its principles from in terms of 7. The credit report is clear. You got a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And did you all know that your body actually regenerates cells every 7 years? That number 7 is very, very significant. It's very significant. All right. So going back to what Jules said, takeaway, eminent domain info is clarified that it's more than just land. Yes, it is more than just land, but the Most High is telling us that we have to be redeemed, that we should be redeemed. But the thing of the matter is do you know how to go after your redemption? All right. So that in essence is the whole reason why we're here, right? We're trying to figure out ways to do things, but we got to take it all the way back to biblical principles. All right. Karen says, reminder of the use of the DNA is to see what treaties my ancestors benefited or could benefit from. Yes. Now, if you all have not started on your genealogical journey, then you may want to get started with that because you're going to want to tap into that. And it's amazing to be able to go back and find out things about your ancestors that you did not know. And there may be some potential benefits there for you that you can take advantage of. And you are going to want to be able to identify yourself, like what I was saying yesterday, in terms of the system identifying who you are. In order for you to really be able to stand on your square, you have to know who you are and not allow them to identify you. Bernard says, my biggest takeaway was realizing how entrenched we are in the system and how well they hide the contracts they make with us. Yes. Angie says, biggest takeaways was to express who I am on all contracts so that it's not presumed I am the debtor. My signature give the value and I'm the creditor. Yes, 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 yes. Monica says that I am The heir of the Most High, and my earthly inheritance is my birthright. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Russell says, I follow you because I get a renaissance in my spirit. You speak the truth. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's a lot of the things that I talk about is just a download that I'm getting from the Most High. It's not me. Justin Me says, I am source and creator. My spirit's guides sent me here. It's a spiritual war. Many blessings. We are in a spiritual war. And I think part of the issue is that we don't know that we are. And so when we don't know that we're in a spiritual war, we think and act carnally when the enemy is attacking us spiritually every day, all day. With credit, with loans, predatory lending, all of these things, it's all spiritual. So the sooner we realize that, the better off we'll be. All right, so Kristen says the Hague Treaty. All right. Yep, Benjamin says they use scripture to build their system. Absolutely correct. Angela says we have to work hard and study hard to reclaim our birthright. Yes, I am the source. Herb is asking, where can we get the book about the Unum Sanctum? That's something that you're just going to have to go and search online and try to find it. You're going to have to download it offline. There's actually, if you do a search for all of the papal bulls, you'll find it in there. Just do a search for papal bulls, PAPALBULOS bulls. All right. Okay, great. All right, so if you're asking about if this is being recorded, as long as you have access to the private Facebook group, you can come back and watch this for the next week, because after this week, the videos will more than likely be taken down. And I'm going to have a bonus for you all getting towards the end of the challenge. So you definitely want to stick in with me for the rest. Let's see. So we got, what's today? Today is day 2. So we got 3 more days. So y'all got to stick in there with me for 3 more days. And I want to be able to see you all in the chat. Like if I go back and see you all in the chat and see that you're engaging, there is going to be a special giveaway at the end of the challenge for those that are most engaging. Okay, for those that are most engaging. Right. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into day 2. Yeah. Yeah, y'all are gonna want to be definitely engaged. All right, so let me pull up the topic of today. This is just fun for me, y'all. We got work that we got to do, so that's why I'm out here. We definitely have work to do. We got so much work to do. We have work to do. Where am I? We got so much work to do. We got a lot of work to do. All right, let me pull this up. Today is day 2. What is this right here? All right. Day 2. Talking about day 2. A little bit bigger. All right, can you all see my screen? Let me know if you can see my screen. And you all see my screen. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so we touched on this yesterday, just briefly. All right. The key is to be able to identify that there is a trusted operation. right? That is the most important thing. Identify that there is a trusted operation, okay? So we have to think about a few components to be able to identify that there is a trusted operation. All right. Who created the trust? Meaning who initiated the transaction? Did you initiate the transaction or did the creditor? Okay. How was the transaction initiated? Did you see something online that you went and applied for? Did you get a pre-approval in the mail? How did the transaction get initiated? When was the transaction initiated and why? Right? So when you're able to identify these things, you can begin to see what the intent was, okay? Meaning what was the reason why the trust or the agreement or the contract was initiated? What were they trying to accomplish by pulling you into this transaction? Okay, what was the purpose? Who are the parties, right? And what is the property? What is the property? All right. Now, if you have to write this down before you sign a contract, then do that so that you'll know exactly what it is that you're looking at. Okay, write it down. The main purpose why we want to try to determine when there is a trusted operation, 99.9% of the times, there is a trust relationship being created every time you sign a document, every single time. All right, but you have to ask yourself, what role do you play in that trust relationship? What role do you play? All right, what role do you play? You have to ask yourself that question. All right, even if you're unsure, you can still presume or assume that there is some sort of trust relationship being created by you doing something. And it's not just at the onset of that transaction. It can be when you go to the grocery store to go buy food. It can be when you pay a bill. There is a trust relationship. Okay. When you signed your name, if you didn't express the trust up front, it automatically defaults to debtor creditor and you become the liable party. You become the liable party. All right. Now, I need to take it back for just a second because this is important. I need to bring this forth so that we understand what's going on here. Because I want we need to understand this part. This is important. Very, very important. This is important. Let me look this up real quick. Because this is really what I want to deal with. This is really what I want to deal with right here. Right here. Let's see, let me pull it up here. 20, right here. Right here. Hold on, let me pull up one more document. It's for me to make sure that I hit all of my points here. Because I think if we can just really deal with this part of it, understanding how trusts operate will kind of sort of, it'll help. And I have to take it back to the word for a second. Gotta take it back. All right, can you all see my screen? Yeah, that signature is powerful. It's very, 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 very powerful. All right, here's what I want to focus on just briefly. Right here. No, wait, hold on. Yeah, it's actually all of this. So you're talking about Genesis 1, verse 26 through 28. All right. All right. And the Most High said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. All right, this right here, Genesis 1:26. All right. When I look at this passage here, the very first thing that stands out to me is that this passage is basically establishing the covenant relationship that we have with the Most High. Okay. This right here is the Most High granting really the very first trust. It's a dominion trust. All right. It's a dominion trust. There's an agreement on the table. There's a contract on the table. A trust relationship was being created in Genesis 1:26. All right. The Most High said, he said, okay, when you look at the root definition of said, it says that he, wait, let me go back. All right. See, when I try to go and highlight, it clicks away from the definition. So y'all are just going to have to read it. But it says answer, and it says appoint. Appoint is a root word of said. So that means that he appointed. Okay, let us make. When you look at the definition of the word make, a root word of make is also appoint. Okay, to bestow, to bring forth. Man, so what does that say? The Most High appointed man. He appointed man in our image. Okay, what does image mean? Resemblance. It also says, hence, a representative. Okay, so let's go back and read that again based off of the definition. The Most High appointed man as his representative. Okay, are you all catching that? He appointed man as his representative on earth and let him have dominion. Okay, dominion over everything that was basically the Most High created us and appointed us to have dominion over everything that was created during creation week. This is a trust relationship here. This is a trust relationship. All right, so in essence, the way that I interpret this is that there is duties and responsibilities that come along with being in a trust relationship. There are protections that come along with being in a trust relationship. There is an inheritance that comes along with being in a trust relationship, right? This is part of the reason why I wanted to do this challenge, so that we can explore the importance of trust. Okay, when I think about trust, that is just an extension of the foundation created by the Most High and that covenant relationship with man. So anytime that we are creating the trust, that is just an extension of what our Father taught us to do. He taught us to be just like him. He brought forth a trust relationship when he made man in his image and gave him dominion. And with dominion came protection. So that tells me that there was something that needed to be protected during creation week. Man needed to be protected in order for him to carry out and be the representative of the Most High and have dominion on earth. There are some protections there. There is some management of assets that's taking place in this paragraph right here, because the Most High appointed Adam, appointed man to do a specific duty, to have dominion, to subdue, right? To bring all of his labors, his works, his wisdom, his word, everything that man has been appointed to do in terms of representing the Most High here on earth. He said, be fruitful and multiply. That doesn't just mean have children. That means be fruitful. That means to manage. That means to deal with all of the assets that are being granted to us by the Most High, right? In the biggest way. This is a huge assignment. It's a huge assignment. And this is evidence that we are in covenant relationship with the Most High. So when we're going out here into the world and we're doing things, we should be operating through a trust relationship the same way that the Most High created that initial dominion trust with Adam. So when we're talking about the importance of the revocable living trust and an irrevocable living trust, a private banking trust, any sort of trust out there, we're bringing forth the principles from the word that there is something that needs to be protected and managed and represented. Is that fair to say? That's fair to say. Right. So why are we out here doing things without a representative? Why are we not operating through trust relationships? We need a representative. We need a public interface that is going to represent the living soul in commerce, right? That is one of the importances of having a revocable living trust, is because, remember, if you all follow me on YouTube, you've heard me say over and over that the living soul is a private individual that has been pulled out of the private to do commerce with the public. That commerce is foreign to us. It's a foreign jurisdiction. But part of the problem is that we keep leaving the house naked. We keep leaving the house without our clothes on. We keep leaving the house without the protections of a trust. That's one of the issues that we're having. And so we find ourselves out here naked, and we're entering into all these different transactions and stuff out here with no protection. And so what's happening is instead of us initiating that trust relationship with the creditor is initiating that trust relationship with us, and they are misconstruing that relationship and is defaulting to a debtor-creditor relationship, with us being the liable party, responsible party, the public surety, and the trustee with the responsibility to pay. Now, for a revocable living trust, one of the main purposes of a revocable living trust is to manage specific assets, properties, and financial accounts that are owned by the grantor. Now, there is different types of trusts out here that are being used for different purposes, right? I look at a grantor revocable trust as something that you can use as a public interface. It's a go-between, it's a conduit and a cushion between the living soul and commerce, the world, the public, the fiction, right? The grantor living trust is used as a very specific vehicle to manage assets, but you may use another type of trust for the protection of the living man or woman, right? Something that is not as easily pierced. But part of the reason why I like a revocable living trust to use it as a public interface for commerce is because you are constantly dealing with banking and assets and accounts, and there are going to be certain things that move through the trust on a regular basis, like a revolving door. You're moving things into the trust, you're pulling things out of the trust, you're settling accounts, you're doing title merges. There's all these things that are happening. So you have to deal with it from a trust vehicle that can be easily changed, which is what the term revocable means. That means that you can change it because you're dealing with banking. You may be dealing with accounts, right? You're dealing with banking, you're dealing with accounts, right? And in a grantor revocable living trust, the grantor can also be the trustee at the same time. It's set up as like an inter vivos type situation. This is one of the only trusts out there where the grantor and the trustee can be the same person. It's actually the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary can all be the same person in a revocable living trust. All right, so I want you all to write that down. That's a concept that you're going to want to remember. Now, if you have a trust relationship that is being misconstrued, meaning it was initiated to you by a creditor or a lender or whoever, and they have misconstrued that trust relationship, they have appointed you as secondary trustee and the responsible party to pay the debt. Okay, that is a misconstrued relationship. That is a perfect example of when you do not want to be the trustee, is when that trust relationship has been misconstrued. If it has been misconstrued, you don't want to be the trustee, because with the trustee, that equals liability. Now, in a trust where you have expressed the trust up front, that means that you have control of how that trust relationship is being interpreted. You construed that trust relationship. So when you're hitting it from your perspective, where you initiated it, then yeah, being the trustee is fine. Okay, so it's the type of situation is going to depend on what hat you wear. So that's why it's important for you to know, okay, who's identifying the trust relationship? Who are the parties? Why was the trust relationship created? How was it created and when? Okay, was it initiated by you or not? What does that look like? Okay, what does that look like? You have to ask yourself these questions, right? So you're going to want to know the real definition of a revocable living trust. If you don't have any of the older dictionaries like Black's Law, that sort of thing, you're going to want to try to get your hands on that, because the more current the information, the more watered down the definitions are. You want to be able to take it back as far as you can go. So if you're dealing with Black's first, second, third, and fourth, those are good dictionaries to have. Anything fifth or after, that's when it begins to get watered down, and then they begin to slide in other definitions and all that stuff. It's not good. But Black's first through fourth, when you're dealing with certain scenarios in your paperwork and you're bringing forth legal terms, what they call legal, you're going to want to operate from Black's Law Dictionary versions 1 through 4. That's what the real deal is. You will find out as the years get later, the definitions are more watered down. So you're going to want to go back and look at your definitions of a revocable living trust, a living trust, the term revocable. That's what you're going to want to do. All right, now, it's important to clarify that a revocable living trust is not intended to deposit or hold the living man or woman. No, 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 no. Because it is revocable, it can be easily pierced. You don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. You only want to use it as a public interface for banking. Okay. And if you're dealing with a title merge, you need the trust to act as a conduit to deal with legal titles. All right. This is very important. I hope that y'all are writing this down. Yes, the trust is a must. I'm sorry, y'all. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. Trust is a must. Is a must. A revocable living trust is something that is used during the grantor's lifetime. During the lifetime. After the grantor's death, it can convert over into a different type of trust, right? That is specifically used for a distribution of assets to heirs. All right. She said, can you reset what you just said? What part of what I just said? What you want me to say? You can go back and watch the replay. Listen, y'all, sometimes I be flowing. I don't even be remembering what I be saying because I just be so much into the spirit. I'm telling y'all, seriously though. All right. So I want you all to remember that everything we touch, everything should be an extension of the original covenant dominion trust. Okay, y'all are gonna want to download E.S.W.O.R.D. You can download it as an app on your phone, or you could download it on your computer. I think when you download it on the phone, it's like $3 for a lifetime. I think, I can't remember. Because when you're studying, you're gonna want to be able to look at the root meaning of words. Don't think you know until you look it up in the concordance online or on your phone, or if you have a, where's my concordance? I think it's behind me on the table. He said, I already write too slow. I ain't even finna do. Yeah. Right. Well, for the purposes of what we're doing, Karen, it says, can you clarify for the revocable living trust when the grantor dies, the trust needs to be updated? Well, the beauty is of what we're using the revocable living trust for in our private network, it's automatically going to be deposited into another trust. Because remember, our paperwork is going to have layers on top of layers on top of layers. All right. So I want you to keep that in mind. A revocable living trust should be used as a public interface to deal with your banking, and finance. You should not be using a revocable living trust to hold a living asset, i.e. you. Okay, the name of the app is called E.S.W.O.R.D. It's called E.S.W.O.R.D. Like a sword, like a sword. All right. So I want you all to remember, why is a revocable living trust important? That's why it's important. You got to take it all the way back to biblical principles. So when we go back and we look at, let me bring this over here. Let me bring it over here. You know, I got like 3 screens going on, right? Okay. So when you look at this question, all right, and I want y'all to go back and read this guide. But when you look at this, the second paragraph on the first page of the guide for day 2, all right, right here. So what can we do to avoid this happening? And what does that mean? Well, what can we do to avoid being pushed into a debtor-creditor relationship? All right. We can circumvent this by operating through a trust vehicle created and controlled by us. A vehicle that will act as a public interface in place of the SS individual in commerce. A revocable living trust can be specifically written to contain features and benefits that serves as a powerful tool to be used by the grantee settler, if structured correctly. All right. So this is what we want to focus on. This is why a trust is important, operating through some sort of trust vehicle and everything that you do out in the public. It is the first line of defense, Angelique. Yes, it is. Because that is a principle that our Father gave us. The very first thing he did, the very first thing that he did was create the world during creation week, right? He created the wealth. He created all these assets during creation week, and then he took it and handed it over and appointed man to have dominion over everything that he created the first week. He put us on assignment as trustees, y'all. He put us on assignment. That was a contract. That was the first trust. Okay. Yeah, the SS individual is the fictional. That's the fictional. That's the fictional individual that was created and is being used as a conduit to pull the living soul out of the private into the public to do commerce. That's what the SS individual is. And that's what it is. All right. So what questions do you all have? This is the end of today's lesson. I told y'all before, we ain't gonna be on here on hours. I know y'all love to hear me talk. Y'all love to hear me talk. Is it the grantor or settler or grantee? Oh, let's look at these definitions real quick, right? That's a great question. That is a great question. That's a great question. Because we have to know what these definitions are. All right. I'm trying to think, because I know grantee. We're gonna look at this root word. And sometimes we don't necessarily know this really, but it's good to look up definitions, right? Okay. So this is just a basic Google search that I did. I just put in a search for what is the difference between OR and EE. Okay. When we're talking about the grantor or the grantee, we have to look at the situation because the grantor and the grantee changes based on the scenario. Okay, the grantor is the one who gives and the grantee is the one who receives. Okay, the grantor is the one who gives and the grantee is the one who receives. All right, so I know right here they're talking about real estate. All right, so when it comes to identifying the trust relationship, you have to determine what party is giving and what party is receiving. Okay, what party is giving and what party is receiving. So if you are the initiator of that trust relationship, then what are you? If you are on the receiving end of that trust relationship, then what are you? If you receive a contract to sign, then what are you? I want y'all to put it in the chat. If you receive an agreement, if you receive an agreement from a creditor, are you the grantor or the grantee? Give me an answer in the chat. If you receive an agreement from a creditor, are you the grantor or the grantee? Right, you're the grantee because you are on the receiving end. You're on the receiving end. Right, you're the grantee. All right. Now, if you are initiating the trust relationship with someone, then who are you? If you're initiating or you're giving, then that makes you the grantor. But if you're receiving, then you are the grantee. So you have to really dig into these definitions to determine what role you're playing in that trust relationship. How is that relationship being construed? How is it being construed? And you're signing based on how that trust relationship is being construed or how you wish to express the trust relationship that you are now a part of or soon to be a part of, right? That's the key. I didn't even realize that I got comments right there. I'm steady looking on my phone and it's right there. Now, this isn't something that y'all are going to learn. A lot of you probably already know, but it's not something that you're going to learn in an hour lesson. I'm coming here to give you the principles. You're going to take these principles and go study. And you're going to exercise these principles, right? You're going to exercise these principles when you need to. Right. Exactly. It's dealing with your status. It's all going to be dealing with your status at the end of the day. It really does. It deals with your status. All right. So y'all good now? Well, I know y'all want me to keep going, but you only get an hour out of me. Just an hour. All right. So was this beneficial to you tonight? based on what we learned yesterday and then what we learned today, was this beneficial? Was it beneficial? I'm not going to go too deep on this challenge because I'm going to be busting some blood vessels, and that is not my intention. My intention is to bring awareness, awareness, awareness. Okay? That's my intention with this challenge. Can't get too deep because we're on a public platform. All right? Facebook is a public platform. All of our advanced teachings are happening in private. All right, so I hope that this was beneficial for you all. I appreciate you joining and engaging with the challenge on day 2. Tomorrow, we will pick up same time, 9 p.m. Eastern time for day 3 of the Refine Your Status Revocable Living Trust Challenge. I appreciate you all coming through, and I will see you all tomorrow. Deuces.